All right, Scorp. So from Le Vampire this week, you pulled discipline, training, consistency, and practice. And then from Chakra Wisdom, you pulled rejection. Now, discipline shows up for me for people who are having problems with committing to, the path that they have set for themselves. And in your case, it may be because you felt a sense of rejection. Now, discipline from Le Vampire, the blessing says, you have the ability to create a program of change and stick to it. And after a period of time, it will transform from painful to pleasurable. The freedom and strength it affords you far outweighs the pain you experience in the short term. And then working with this card says it is time to lay down a plan to create structure and stick to your commitments. And you must clear away any doubt. But that may be hard to do if you have faced a rejection. Now, the other important thing with rejection is not only is it spirit's protection, you may be experiencing this for a reason. It's also saying that you don't need to prove yourself to anybody. This is about knowing who you are and being happy with the things that you have created in your life. The inspiration here says you don't have to be on the inside track. Be true to yourself and you will not be unhappy. Rejection is spirit's protection. That's the big thing with this card. The personal question says, am I working with or against my environment? What is the purpose of my present solitude? The key ideas are others' approval, unsupportive environment, working alone, and the arrival of a teacher. But I do think for Scorp, it's one of those things where when you face rejection, it may be hard to continue doing something. All right, Scorp, here we go. Here's the energy coming through. The Six of Pentacles, giving and receiving. What are you receiving? Are you receiving what you're putting out? Or are you giving and not receiving? We shall see where this is going. But then the other thing too is I always have said with the Six of Pentacles, you need to be open to receiving new things as well. Ooh, in the past, he's showing up a lot. So the Hierophant. Now, it's funny because seeing Taurus show up and it being a fixed sign and you're talking about Scorpio, yeah. So for a lot of you, this is just, you sticking to what you know works for you. Especially when it comes to what you're willing to give to something. The Hierophant too is talking about that spiritual understanding. But I have the feeling looking at it that, you know what works for you. Change is difficult. So when it comes to the amount of effort that you're willing to put into something, it's not going to be, you needing to change your routine. You know what works. That's what you need to stick to. Woo! Okay, so Scorp. It's funny because a lot of times your readings have to do with things that are much deeper than this. But when you're looking at the Two of Cups and seeing Scorpio focused on a relationship, there's something important going on. Looking at the Six of Pentacles and the Two of Cups, what are you giving into a relationship? And when you're looking at the Hierophant, possibly a marriage. But the Two of Cups is the bonding of two people. Nothing else in the world exists to them but each other. They are sharing everything. And, I'm still looking at that Six of Pentacles going, what are you receiving from this? And what are you actually putting into this? Oh, Scorp. The Ten of Swords. Looking at that as future conditions is saying that, maybe you put some effort into a relationship and just fell flat on your face. That, or you may not have gave enough to this. But, looking at the Ten of Swords, it is a painful ending, But you're being released from that pain. But man, that's rough. That is rough to see with the Two of Cups. I get the feeling here that, there was a pretty deep spiritual connection between you and another person, but for some reason it just falls flat. It just falls flat. Now, the Two of Cups, it can be a relationship. It could be a business partnership. This could be the relationship that you have with good friends or family members. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. But the question for me still remains on, the Six of Pentacles. Did you give enough to this? Your best path to follow. The Knight of Swords. Seeing that as the best path to follow is telling you that, you need to have the courage to continue on no matter what the obstacles are in your path. The Knight of Swords is a type of knight that has a mission. And those obstacles are not going to stop him. But he doesn't stop to think about, what may be in his way either. Be careful about being too hasty about a situation. And the other thing too, what I'm hearing is, don't create endings that don't need to be there. Scorp is famous for that. If you're not fully receiving what you're putting into a relationship, it doesn't mean necessarily that it has to be over. And the only reason why I feel like that is because of the Knight of Swords. I worry about that, But then the other thing too is if you've got something to say, damn it, you need to say it. Because again, the Knight of Swords doesn't give a shit what anybody else has to say. He's got something that he needs to say, and he's going to deliver that message, and you're going to listen to it, and that's it. But, I would be careful too about the communication because you don't want to be too harsh either. But, I'm still looking at this feeling like this could go either way. You have either not given enough to a relationship or you have given all that you can and didn't receive it back. Looking at the Ten of Swords. But, if you have something to say, you need to say it, but be careful about the way that you say it. Be careful about acting too quickly too. But then, also, if you're dealing with obstacles, you have to be brave in this situation. Don't let those obstacles stop you. Oh, in your environment, look at it, Scorp. There's happiness. There is happiness here with a relationship. But what is the problem? I do feel like that there is this deep connection with this person. There really is. But why is there this painful ending? Man, oh man. And for some of you, it just may not be happening. But I'm looking at the end of cycles here. And when you're looking at the end of pain and then this leading into the Ace of Cups and then you seeing truth and clarity, it has to be better. It has to be better. This happiness, there's no reason why this can't continue within a relationship because the two are connected. Look at these people, but still, it's like, what the hell is going on here? Oh, your hopes and your fears. Here's the thing. Again, back to what I was saying. If you've got something to say, you better say it. And I can understand where there's a problem because a lot of times when Scorpio speaks, it's intense. But if you're not revealing the way that you feel or, giving enough of your own emotions into a relationship, it's either you or the other person that is not feeling it, and it comes to this crashing halt here. But there's no reason why. Not with the Ten of Cups being in your environment, because it's happy, it's good. But it's just not happening. Oh, and then the outcome, the Empress. Wow. I feel good about it, looking at it, because I'm looking at, this really happy relationship. Here's the thing. For some of you, if you're having difficulties with a parent or a mother figure, I think that difficulties within the relationship are going to end. There will be happiness in that connection back. For those of you who are looking at a relationship that makes you really happy, if you don't want it to end, you have to say something. You're going to have to say something, but you need to be careful about your communication. If it's too intense and it creates an ending, then, maybe you're not receiving what you need back. But when you're looking at the Empress, I do feel like a lot of you get to this abundant feeling of beautiful emotions within a relationship. And some of you may end up pregnant. Just saying. But it looks good. It does. It looks good. It's just, and I said this with Virgo too. When you're looking at the Seven of Swords in this deck, to me, this looks like somebody who's been left to pick up the pieces after having to deal with some difficulties. Dealing with people who, may have taken something that was more than you can handle. and you're trying to pick everything back up now. But the other thing too with the Seven of Swords traditionally, it's not just sneaky behavior, but it's also about not really revealing everything either. So I do feel like, especially with the Knight of Swords, that if you have something to say, you're going to have to say it. You need to stop hiding the way that you feel. There needs to be some kind of communication here. And you need to be careful about that communication. And then the other thing too is, when I say don't create endings that don't need to be there, be careful about being too quick to make a decision on whether or not you're receiving this happiness back. There needs to be that equal give and take. If you have one person who's revealing the way that they feel and you're not doing it, it may cause extreme difficulties, but where you come out at looks really good. All right, Scorp, we're going to take a look at the soul trees to see what else is going on here. But I think that for the Scorpios that, feel like you're not receiving what you're putting into a relationship, I think you get to a point here where you stop hiding the way that you feel. And I think that you're going to be met with a very nurturing and loving energy. And, the same goes for you. There needs to be an equal give and take of that. Because I'm seeing two people who are very happy with each other. You look great together. But what is happening, right? And love, yep. Action, needing to take action, needing to say something, right? Balance, needing some balance, that equal give and take in love. Wow, Scorp, wow. All right, we're going to take a look at the romance angels because I want to see what the hell is going on here for you guys in terms of relationships. So Scorpio, release your ex. Wow, the time has come to clear your energy, Scorp. Really? For those of you who are in a relationship, if there are blocks because of you hanging on to ex energy, you gotta let that shit go, because where you're at right now looks really good. And maybe you're not giving enough to the relationship. And I'm just saying, because of this card showing up. You need to let go of that. And you shouldn't be comparing your current partner to your ex either. Because calling in your soulmate goes both ways here, especially with the Two of Cups. But man, Scorp, I do like the fact that you come out with the Empress. It feels good. But there does need to be a little bit more balance with love in your life. There needs to be equal give and take. And you're going to have to take the action here when it comes to needing to say something. All right, Scorp, so I can understand why now discipline and rejection is showing up. When Scorpio has relationship cards show up in their readings, for me, is suggesting that there's something really important going on here. Because usually your readings are much deeper than this. Trivial things within a relationship are so much deeper than this actually showing up. And then when you're looking at the Hierophant and you're looking at the Ten of Cups, this relationship is a really deep spiritual, emotional connection for you. But what the hell? It's like you end up flat on your face, and it's either because you didn't give enough to this or you're not receiving enough. And I do think that there is something that needs to be said. For those of you who are single and you're meeting that person and everything is right and it feels great for you, if you're stopping yourself from giving into this relationship, it may be because you've been through a situation where you've had to pick up the pieces before, which is understandable. And when Scorpio speaks, it's deep. It's not, this trivial love bullshit. It's from the depths, which is understandable where there is this block. Because I don't feel like there's any kind of sneakiness going on. Not with the Empress coming out on top. This could be a situation where you're sneaking around when you shouldn't be, a relationship ends. But the problem for me in that storyline is that you have the Ten of Cups, again, sitting in your environment. With the Two of Cups connected to it, no. I just think that you're not talking. And that is why this is showing up, and that you do need to take some action here. But then it's true on both sides that there needs to be this equal balance when it comes to love. But wow, Scorp, For you to have a relationship reading, it has some importance here. You've met somebody of significance. And for those of you who are single, calling in your soulmate, right? And then the Two of Cups, like I don't have to say anything. For those of you who are in a relationship, stop that. You need to release that shit. For Scorpio, I can understand it's hard when you have an ex that you have a deep connection with. It's hard to let that go. Like, I get it. I totally understand. Like, those of you who know me know. You know. It's hard to let that stuff go. But if you're in a meaningful relationship with a lot of happiness, this could potentially ruin that, and you don't want to do that. But again, with the Empress coming out, I feel like there's going to be a nurturing energy. Because I would have expected to see something else connected with the Ten of Swords. But I feel like the ending of pain and separation within a relationship is going to be coming to an end here, where you move into this loving, nurturing energy. It's just, don't create endings that don't need to be there either. Because if you're happy, then what is the point of doing that? You know? And again, it's understandable, because if you've been through a situation where you've had to pick up all the shit all over again, you don't want to do that. But, you know, again, there needs to be equal balance, and I mean, it's like resounding here between what you are giving and what you're receiving in love. But damn, Scorpio, really, for a relationship to show up for me, this is going to hold some importance for some of you. But I would be careful, and this is my only warning with this, be careful about the way that you say things. You don't want to, especially with this whole Mercury retrograde thing, you don't want to say something that is going to come off the wrong way or come off too harsh. Because what you're feeling here is happiness and love and a deep connection. If you have to speak from the depths, damn it, do it. Because I think that that is what needs to be revealed here in order for the relationship to get to that nurturing, loving position.